are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining another Netcom Learning webinar. I'm Kimberly Dillon, Marketing Manager here at Netcom, and I'll be moderating this session today. Today's topic is Exchange 2013 Database Availability Group. Prabhat Nigam is our keynote speaker today, and he's a Microsoft Exchange MVP. It's really great to have him with us, and I'll go ahead and pass the floor to him shortly, but first we'll take a quick look at the agenda. I'm going to go over the GoToWebinar controls quickly, then Prabhat will get into his presentation along with some live demos, and then I will go over some of the certification courses that Netcom is offering. We'll have a question and answer at the end, and I just wanted to remind you that this webinar is being recorded and can be accessed for free at our website. If you have any questions during the presentation, in your control panel off to the right, there's a place for you to type in your questions, and I will go ahead and get to them and we'll answer them at the end. And that's all I have for housekeeping. Prabhat, I'm going to go ahead and pass the controls to you if you're ready.
Yes. Thank you, Kimberly. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for my session on Exchange 2013 DAG. I'm going to show you my whole screen. I don't have nothing much. All right. So we are in different time zones. I respect your availability and spending time. I understand sometimes you might be busy and you're spending some time to learn this and in different time zones. Like in India, it's very late. I do not expect anybody to join from Australia because it's 3 a.m. I know a few people. I've been traveling all across the globe, so I know people know me from every part of the world. All right. So something about me. Myself, Prabhat Nigam. I'm a Microsoft MVP for Exchange Server. I write my blog at msexchangeguru.com. I'm a Microsoft Certified Solution Expert for Exchange 2013. I'm an MCITP for Exchange 2010 and Exchange 2007. I'm also a MCSE since Windows NT, Windows 2000, 2003. I have worked for Microsoft PSS support for 2 years in Exchange Q. Currently, I'm working on consulting in Exchange migration projects. I'm also the speaker at Net Learning and Microsoft. All right, this is about me. Let's move on to the agenda of the day, agenda of the hour. So the agenda of the hour is Database Availability Group Overview, benefits of Database Availability Group, getting started with Database Availability Group, Database Availability Group configuration steps, Database Availability Group configuration lab, automated Database Availability Group, DAG high availability versus disaster recovery. All right. So let's have an overview of Database Availability Group. The future of IT will be no outage. And I'm sure that the next generation will not be familiar with outage. They might say to you, what is outage? We don't want these outages. We want to avoid outages. We want to forget outages. And today, we are making all our effort to reduce the outages. And hopefully, we will not have any outage in future. At least Exchange 2013 promises to provide outage-free messaging environment if we follow Microsoft guidelines. Exchange 2013 clustering is called DAG. Clustering is very familiar to you almost from a decade or more. We started clustering with Windows NT and Exchange 5.5 clustering, where we had active and passive clustering, which continued with Exchange 2000 and 2003. Exchange 2007 came and changed a little bit and provided the CCR and the SCR. Oh wow, SCR? SCR, what SCR did is allowed us to go beyond one data center. Wow, it's kind of a geographical cluster. So it's going to do different city, different country, you can place SCR. So if this particular data center goes away, you can bring up your SCR, data center DR site, bring up and takes care of your messaging again. Yes, there was few manual interventions which could have taken time, and revert back was not that easy. All right, so there used to be 3 database copies at that time. Then it came Exchange 2010 with DAG, which came with 16 copies of databases across with data centers. You can use multiple data centers to keep the database copies across the data center, but it was not data center site resiliency that one will go down, then another will not come up. You have to do the manual intervention again to bring them up. But what DAG did is it allowed you to go to 16 copies, which means even if 2 servers goes away, you don't care. You still have more servers available on the site, and you can still continue working on based on that number of databases, number of servers available. And then Exchange 2013 came with same DAG clustering with 16 copies, but with more improvements on network and DAG management. So Exchange 2013 came with new service with CU2. If you apply cumulative update 2, then you will see a new service which is called DAG management service. So now Microsoft thinks that DAG is so important component. It's a big cluster environment. It is so huge component that it needs a service itself to manage the DAG. So what DAG management service does, it takes care of the management of the DAG. If the DAG is being configured, one service is removing, one service is adding, that kind of a thing, it manages separately. Earlier, this was under the replication service, which used to overload replication service, but now replication service will just replicate the databases, and DAG management will take care of the DAG management. All right, we have 16. We are limited to 16 copies, but I have never seen anybody using 16 copies. 16 copies will be is the maximum, and it's a good number. You cannot, go beyond 16 copies, but 16 copies itself is a good number. You might not like to have 16 copies of one database unless you are geographically spread across the globe and you have 4 data centers, and there are security guidelines which you're following, saying 2 copies in the 4 copies in the data center, active data center, 4 copies in the another data center which is across the state, 4 copies in another data center which is across the country, 4 copies in another data center which is across the continent. So if you follow one of the kind of a security guideline, there's a clause, if you can keep the database data in this way, that covers your security BCP plan, the backup continuity plan. All right. So what else DAG comes with? It comes with basically Exchange 2013 comes with 100 database copies post CU2. Else we had 50 databases, basically databases. So it's either it's a copy, it's a passive database copy, or it's an active database copy. Total databases we can go is 100. So basically 100 active databases we can have with any number of copies. Any server cannot go beyond 100 databases at any point of time. So if you install cumulative diff 2, then you will start seeing 100 databases are possible. In one of my projects, we had 48 databases plus one recovery database. We were already 49. And those databases were over 1 terabyte. And some of them were approaching 2 terabytes, which means we had to create new databases. So we were going out of option to upgrade to Exchange 2013 until we got CU2. And many of you might be at the same level. If not, then it's good to know that with CU2 you can go to 100 databases, but before CU2 you might still have to restrict yourself to 50 database copies. All right, automatic DR site activation with 3 data centers. That is called site resiliency. So we'll talk about it more in the future slide. Yes, you heard right. Automatic DR site activation. If you configure 3 data centers, means 2 data center for databases and 3rd data center for file share witness, we can achieve this. This is automatic. You don't have to do anything. All right. Another great feature of Exchange 2013 is auto reseed with spare disk. Auto reseed basically will replace a disk and automatically start reseeding. Yes, you heard right. It's auto reseed will replace a disk automatically the moment your disk goes offline. But there are different configuration for that, so you have to configure your environment in that mode, in an auto configuration mode. So you have to take a decision at the time of planning or designing of your Exchange 2013 DAG environment. What do you have to do with auto reseed? We'll talk about auto reseed more in the next slide. All right, the most famous and most popular topic is high availability. Who doesn't want that? Everyone wants every functionality to be high available, right? So Exchange 2013 DAG provides high availability with DAG and auto reseed, especially in 3 data center setup with 2 namespaces. We will see 3 data center DAG configuration in later slide. All right, so let's move on. PAM, SAM, and DAG mode. PAM is not Pamela, and SAM is not Samuel here. PAM is Primary Active Manager, and SAM is Standby Active Manager. So what PAM does is, PAM decides which copy will be active and which will be passive. PAM is responsible for getting topology changes notifications and reacting to the server failures. PAM is the cluster quorum resource. So your cluster will be owned by the PAM. So Primary Active Manager will own the cluster resource. I can show you that in my demo later. All right. Which also means when you are going to restart the server for any maintenance, like deploying any patches, it's guided to move this PAM role to the different available server and do the patching, then restart. Once you're finished, move the PAM role back. I can show you during my lab how to do that. This is a simple command. I'm sorry, which takes just 10 to 30 seconds to move your cluster. All right, PAM also controls all the movement of active designated databases. Sometimes PAM also perform the SAM role on the local system, which means detecting local databases and local information store failures. Now let's talk about SAM. SAM provides information on which server host active copy of the mailbox database to other components of Exchange like client access or transport service. SAM detects the failure of local database or information store. Basically, this is a SAM feature, like I said. Sometimes PAM also does this kind of a role, but this component of detecting the database failure, and information store is the work of SAM. All right, SAM asks PAM to initiate a failover. All right, so this is about SAM, but SAM does not take any decision on which server it has to fail over. This is all about PAM. PAM takes a decision it has to move to which server. Now let's talk about DAC. DAC is Data Center Activation Coordination Mode, which is designed to prevent split brain syndrome. Split brain syndrome is a very known word which you might have heard. What it is if we have a DAG database availability group is spread across 2 data centers, and there's a network link between them which goes down, which means the users are still connected, internet is still up, just the WAN link has gone down between the sites because of any immediate or the middle disconnection between the ISP. Possible? Yes. So what will happen in that case if we do not activate DAC mode, Data Center Activation Coordination Mode? Both the data centers will assume that I am going to activate the database because other server has gone down, the other site has gone down, and they might bring up both the servers up. So in that case, it is very important to enable the DAC mode, and DAC mode will prevent that syndrome. How will it prevent? What will happen is Active Manager stores, the moment you enable it, the Active Manager starts storing a bit in the memory, either in the 0 or 1, that tells database availability group whether it's allowed to mount local database that are assigned as active on the server. All right, so the bit 0 means it's not allowed. The bit 1 means it's allowed. So whenever the Active Manager communicates to other DAC servers, it checks what is the local bit on that. If the local bit is 1, it allows it to mount. If it is not, it does not allow it to mount. And one of the server will have that bit, it will allow it to mount. So very important DAC activation mode, which we must enable in the DAG where we have 2 or more data centers involved. PAM and SAM, we mostly don't see them in front, but they work on the back end. So, but it is good to know about it, so that's why I explain it here. All right, next, let's move on to the next slide. Auto receipt workflow. I can tell you this is the best, one of the best feature Microsoft has enabled in Exchange 2013. Let's see what is the auto receipt workflow. Step 1. Detect a copy in failed and suspended state for 15 minutes. So auto receipt will detect a copy in the failed and suspended state for 15 minutes. Then Exchange tries to resume copy 3 times with a gap of 5 minutes. When all attempts fail, then it moves to step 3, which means at step 2, you might see a situation where mistakenly, when you are designing and configuring the DAG, you just created some folders. If you are just mounting the volume mount point, you just created some folders, and your administrator forgot to mount the disk on those folders, and you continue to create the database copy, you just ensure on the active server, on the one of the server, you have volume mount points mounted. You did not check on one of the server. So what happens is it will still create the databases on those folders where the volume mount points are not mounted. Now you are in a situation where you would like to mount the volume mount points on the folders which has data, and many of you know we cannot mount the volume mount points on the folder which has any data. So you need to make the cleanup. What you will do, you will stop all the Exchange services, you will mount the volume, you will create new folders, you will delete all folders, you will create new folders, you will mount the volume. Now you will start the Exchange services. The moment you will start the Exchange services, if it is between like 15 minutes to 30 minutes, like it said 3 times 5 minutes, so 15, then 5, 5, 5. So 30 minutes, if it is within 30 minutes, Exchange will auto-reseed the databases. Isn't it a great feature? It is. So I have tested this, and it was a great feature. It worked very fast. It did not ask me any question. It did not give me any error. The moment I mounted and restarted, it was working, and it created a database copy at the same moment. But the good thing is that I was in the design phase, so databases were really small, and it went very fast. All right, the next step is Exchange tries to assign a spare volume for 5 times with a gap of 1 hour. Yeah, so basically what we are saying is Exchange, if a disk has gone offline, it has crashed, it has bad sector, it's no more available to work, it has gone offline. So in that case, of course, the first half an hour it will not be able to do anything, and then Exchange will try 5 times in a gap of 1 hour, with a gap of 1 hour. So for 5 hours, it will keep on trying to assign a spare volume. So even if you come back and assign a disk in the next 5 hours of the failure, it will automatically reseed the databases. It will assign the spare volume. It will reseed the databases. You don't have to worry about it. That's the 4th step. Basically, when it assigns the spare volume, it goes to the step 4. After that, Exchange tries in place seed with save delete existing files, which means there's an option which says save delete existing files, which means delete all the existing files if it finds that folder connected back and reseed again. So it will try that step for 5 hours with a gap of 5 times with a gap of 1 hour. Once all retries are completed with no success, then workflow will stop. If it is success, means reseeding is going on or it has completed. We are good at 5th step. We don't have to go to the 2nd step. If it is no success, in case of no success, Exchange will wait for 3 days on the step 6 and see if copy is still in failed and suspended state. Then starts the workflow from step 1 again. So I'm saying is auto reseed is never stopping. It is waiting for 3 days. If you come back up with this disk again, it will again try to mount that disk and bring up all the databases in auto seed workflow. So you don't have to do anything for auto reseeding. Will take care of database reseeding. Isn't it a great feature? It is. Let's move on to the next slide, which is benefits of database availability group. What are the benefits of it? Really, reduced manual effort. Wow, we have more time to do something else, right? Everything is automated. No manual effort required once you configure it correctly. So it is one-time effort. Basically, if you configure it correctly across all the data centers, you are good. All right, good for life. Let's say. And another copy of database. So yeah, DAC provides multiple copies of databases, which means one server or disk. If one server or disk crashes, you still have the availability of the services. There's no harm. Good. Less disk copies with auto seed feature, less disk and less servers, which means the costliest hardware today is the storage, So, so we are saying with Exchange auto receipt feature, you can really go for less number of databases, which in compared to Exchange 2010, where you had more databases, you were worried that auto receipt will not be there, so how receipt will take long time. So I can give you an example. In one of my projects, like I discussed earlier, we had 48 databases, and most of them were between 1 to 1.5 terabytes. We had 6 copies of each databases. We had 4 in production data center, and 2 in the DR data center, which means we had 6 copies of 48 databases, means 2 terabyte disk we were using, means 288 disks, 288 disk of 2 terabytes. How much data we had? Somewhere around 576 terabyte of disks. We are using 576 terabyte of data spread across 12 servers. I'm repeating, it was 576 terabytes spread across 12 servers. Huge number, right? If I move to Exchange 2013 and consider implementing auto receipt feature, I can easily think about removing at least 2 databases, because we have auto receipt feature, and the moment the disk will fail, it will auto receipt one of the disks as soon as possible. So what will happen? Let's calculate the number again. If we reduce 2 databases, it means 2 multiplied by 48, 96 databases we are going to remove. 96 multiplied by 2 terabytes, which is 192 terabytes of disk space we will spare from those databases. But we will put back 12 disks of 2 terabytes so that they can auto receipt to every server. So that comes 24 terabyte. So if I reduce 24 terabyte from 192 terabyte, I can still save 168 terabytes. Isn't it a good feature? 168 terabytes is available for some other client's farm. All right. So I would say it's a great feature. When we are reducing the number of databases, we might think about reducing from 12 servers to 10 servers, right? So that's going to also reduce the number of the cost of the servers as well. Of course, this is the last effort for system admins. System admins will be more happy. They can focus on some different works other than just bringing up the DAG or Exchange server. No wake-up calls. As far as DAG and auto receipt is concerned, auto receipt feature promises a huge reduction in midnight sleep breaking calls, because you have DAG with multiple databases in case of server crash, and auto receipt with spare disk will replace a failed disk. So you have to go to office in the morning and call the hardware vendor to change the failed hardware, and don't have to fix anything on the Exchange and DAG. right? So you can focus on something else, planning some other design, or fixing some other AD issue or some other issue which has come arise because of something else. All right. So what it does is it says no outage in case of following: disk failure, server failure, site failure, and internet failure. So if you have all these failures and you have implemented Exynos 2013 DAG with auto receipt feature, we can say we will have no outage. We will be safe and sound and quietly sleeping in case of this kind of outage in the midnight or even in the day when you are doing some important work. You don't have to really focus on these kind of outages. But yeah, you can obviously assign an administrator which receive an email of these failures, and they have to just call a hardware vendor to report an issue, and the hardware vendor will come and replace it. Your work is already automated. Great, great. Exynos 2013. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Getting started with DAG, we need the following to configure DAG high availability. One domain controller with the global catalog, Windows 2003 SP2 or above. I always recommend to keep at least 2 domain controller in every AD site where you want Exchange server, because one can go offline. Hardware is very cheap now with apart from the disk, hardware is very cheap. You can easily have one hardware server with Windows 2012. Windows 2012 Hyper-V allows you to keep a domain controller on Hyper-V. Install 2 domain controllers there, you're good. Then you need 2 Exchange servers, minimum 2 Exchange servers for the DAG, because it's a cluster, so if one goes off, other will take care. And ensure failover clustering is installed on these 2 mailbox DAG servers. Basically, Exchange DAG brings and installs failover clustering automatically if you have not installed. But to install DAG faster, it is recommended to install failover clustering when you are installing other features for Exchange. It's good. This is the way I do. The next is N+1 disk. So any number of databases you need, plus 1 disk for auto receipt you require. Then you need 2 or 3 Exchange 2013 data centers or sites for site resiliency. There was a time when we were discussing with Microsoft where we could have used Windows Azure, but Microsoft has taken a decision. Windows Azure is not possible right now. So we need 3 data centers or 2 data centers for site resiliency. At least 2 data centers where you can manually mount the databases if any DR happens. So to make it fully high available, we need 3 data centers. Then we need 1 non-mailbox role server for file share witness. Yes, you are listening right. It should be a server role. As per Microsoft recommendations, it might work with non-server role, but it has to be a server role as per Microsoft guidelines. And if you need support from Microsoft, you need to go with that server role. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Next slide is the how to configure database availability group configuration steps, and that's what we're gonna do in the lab after this slide. So this is most important. We have a group called Exchange Trusted Subsystem. We have to allow it as local administrator group on the witness server, so that it can interact with the local disk and create a folder share and update which server is available right now, and which server is the PAM, primary active manager, and holding the server quorum. All right, so Now you have to go to Exchange Admin Center, Servers, Database Availability Group, click on plus sign, configure the following values, and click on Save. This will create DAG. Right? Then add DAG member server using the icon. The icon has gone off, flipped up. I'm sorry about it. Click Save. Verify file share folder created. So this time your file share folder will be created the moment you will add the servers, not the moment you create the DAG. So this is very important. If you look for the file share witness directory has been created or not at the end of the third step, at the end of the step 4, then you will not see that. You have to see that file share folder, file share witness folder at the end of step 6. Then you have to go to the database tab, then click on plus sign, add the databases. Alright, then you have to give these parameters and click save, and your databases will, the first active copy will be created. Alright, the point number 8, most important, restart information service as per warning. I personally respect all the Microsoft warnings and follow them. I always restart information store service as per the warning. This means you cannot add a database in the production time. Whatever the emergency created, which means you have to restart the information store. So move active databases to the different server, keep all the passive databases on this server, create the active database, restart the information store. Alright, then move the databases back and then create the second copy on the other server. That makes sense? Yes, it does. So next step is clicking on 3 dots, select add database copy, then select second server and click save. Seeding should be started. Once seeding completes, move the database to different server to check if the to see the activation is working or not. Well, let's move to the next slide, which is Database Availability Group Lab. Let's do that. So this is my server. Which is taking a little bit of time. Oops, I'm sorry guys. Alright, it's back, it got connected. So you can see my hardware is, this is one Windows 2012 Exchange 2013 CU2 server. This is second server, same configuration. This is one of the client machine. I have limited hardware here, so I had to use a client machine for file share witness, but this is not at all recommended in a production environment. Wherever you have to configure, you have to use a member server. You can use a domain controller, that is fine with Microsoft, but not a client machine. Please remember that. Let's go back to the Exchange Admin Center and create a DAG. I'm clicking on this plus sign. I'm giving a name, netcom. This is the DAG name, and the file share witness server is PNW7. I have to give it FQDN here. This is my domain, and I will simply create net underscore FSW. I'm using 192.168 range. You have to give an IP for the cluster. So I'll give 192.168.0.127. Yes, we can use it. There's no harm in using it. All right. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so DAG has been created. Now I have to click on this icon, which says Manage DAG Membership. I'll click on here. I'll come back here, add the servers, click OK, click Save. Now it's important to see what it's doing. It's forming a cluster with the name netcom on server 1. Says it will take up to 45 seconds. I hope you all can see it. All right, so it's still taking a little bit of time. So at this time, it is adding the member. It's doing the validation. Now it's checking VDC2. There's a second server. Now you can, if you have seen it closely, it had just created the file share witness. So we can go here and see the file share witness has been created. net_fsw. You can see the time, 1:45 p.m., 26 September, just now. All right, now this is the time to add the databases. So come to the databases tab, click on one plus sign, give it name, netcom1. I'm adding it to server 1, and I'm giving us different location than the normal location, so that I can easily browse and delete when we finish, or any other maintenance I have to do. All right, let's click on save. And we will see a warning right away coming back and saying start the information store. What we will see is on these three dots here, you can see the three dots. What we will see is until we restart the information store, we will see the options coming dismount the database. And once we restart, it will show us we can also add a copy of database. All right. So it says, please restart Microsoft Information Store service on server VDC 2013, 2013 VDC1 after adding new mailbox database. It has been added. Click OK. You can see on the right, it is active mounted. I have the services open, not this one. This one. So information store selected already, restarted. Alright, so now I can show you. Until I refresh, I will still see dismount. Okay, when I refresh it, now it knows information store restarted. Now you will see add database copy. It was not there earlier. I'm saying add database copy. Oh, I clicked on it. Somehow I didn't like that. I'm going to do a refresh again. All right, it's opening. I'm sorry, it was opening. You have to just specify a second server here, which is VTC2 in my case. Click OK and click Save. This will start creating a second copy of the DAG database particularly. But if you have multiple databases, you might like to use the Exchange shell, which will continue creating the database copy. You have to just automate the PS1 file and merge all the commands in one PS1 file, and it will continue creating the copy. You can see the status, what it is doing at that moment, which is really great. You can see what is happening on your server at the same time. At this point of time, it is seeding. It has already created the database. It is seeding it. So there's 0 KB remaining. So it should finish very soon. Now it is updating the indexing. So it is very important. I'll show you if I can. Okay, created successfully, which is great. It's done in no time, isn't it? So very important to see if we have a content indexing state failed here. Initially, it will take time, so it will show failure. When you have to move it from here to active data to different active database, it has to be healthy. But you can use a shell command which will avoid, which will skip this check. All right, what we did is we added a copy. We added a copy on VTC2. We need to restart the information store here. Though it did not pop up here, but I would still restart the information store. One of the good feature which has changed here is the task manager, and in the task manager we have an option to select services and restart. So I like this feature for the quick restart. I'll come here, select it, do a restart. So you can see starting. All right, it has started, and now I can go back here and just refresh the status, and it came up in no time. But you can see it failed. So in a way, I will not be able to move it very fast, but I have a command ready which will allow it to move. No, this will not allow. This is when I skip the health checks, but we have to escape something else. To copy check. Yes, so we have to select the skip client experience check, which will skip the index health check, basically. So we are trying to move the database to second server so that it can be activated on second server. Just wanted to ensure that everything is working fine. You have created the database perfectly, and it is gonna move it. Okay, say it asks you for the warning. So your RPC is trying to move the database to different server. Mounted succeeded. Isn't it great? It was very quick. So the configuration of DAG you have seen is very easy, very fast. Content index health is not that great yet. You can see um, it is mounted on 02. That is why it is saying activate on 01. So it will say opposite what is the current state so that you can move on to that. So this database has been has a second active preference. So we have this particular PS1 file, which can redistribute the load. We can bring it back. Which can bring the database back as per the activation preferences. So the first database was created on VTC server 1, VTC1 server. This command will bring it back to VTC1 server. I will show you just right here. Microsoft. So, okay, I'll just paste here, maybe that's better. All right. Okay, wrong DAG name. So the DAG name is netcom. So this PS1 should start moving the DAG. Sorry, I mistake again. I'm sorry about it. Could not find the DAG name. Netcom. So this should start balancing the databases. You can see it is starting as per the active preferences. So basically what it's doing is it's bringing the database back to server 1. But when you have multiple databases, you cannot just run one command and wait. So you can run this particular PS1 file, which is available on your scripts folder. And here's the summary. I'm sorry, here's the summary. It has done it. Okay, this ends the demo, and I'll move back to the slide. There are a few couple of slides to finish up, wind up. So, automated database availability group. We can achieve automated database availability group. Yes. Automated database availability group provides you capability to survive even if one data center goes out of service. Means data center will automatically fail over to second data center. Let's see how should we configure and what are the requirements. Requirement for automated database availability group are for automated database availability group. We should have 3 data centers. 2 must be internet facing. One can in these 2 data centers we will have 2 Exchange servers, and 1 data center can be non-internet facing but just be connected to the WAN link, and we will keep the file share witness on that 3rd data center for file share. Right, but that 3rd data center also needed domain controller so that this file share witness server should be able to log into the domain and access the permissions. All right, we need 2 load balancer, one in each Exchange data centers. Then we need 2 host records for NLB, which will point to Auto Active Sync, IMAP, Outlook Anywhere, OWA, POP, EWS. We need two alias records for Auto Discover, which will point again to the host record of these services. We need two MX record, which will point again to this host record. As an example, I have presented you mail.vdc 2013 can be the name. Auto Discover can be the alias record, and then the MX record can be MX10. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping the same name, but on the back-end side, I'm just changing the IP of the host record. So if the first server goes away, it will automatically switch over to second IP. This is the tested environment. You can test in your lab, create these records in your DNS, and that's just test. It just change the IP of one of the DAG server, and then see if it starts responding to second IP. It will. All right. Let's move on to the next point, which is we need at least 4 servers with cumulative update 2, version 2 for each data center. Basically 2 servers in each data center. Basically total 4 servers. All right. So 2 here, 2 there. If one goes down, one is available to take care of the services. And 1 domain controller or a member server in the third data center for the file share witness. All right. Let's move on to the next slide. All right. This is a very interesting topic. High availability versus DAG disaster recovery. So this is a whole big confusion in the community that it is similar. So I wanted to remove that confusion. I wanted to clear this up. So what is high availability? High availability when your services are high available with a data center or across a data center, which means we don't need to make effort to bring services up, just like 3 data centers based DAG, you know. So it is high availability. When you configure a DAG in the high availability, this is the scope of high availability. When let's move on to next is what is disaster recovery. Disaster recovery is when services has gone down, and we are bringing the services up by doing some manual effort. It can be high available DAG DR or single DR, single data center DR. This also means when disaster recovery, when we run disaster recovery, we might just left a single DAG server with all other servers have been deleted from the cluster. Got it? So that's a totally different scenario, which will work even with one server. You have to provide all the services back to the row, which means all of the servers might be required to remove from the cluster as per the disaster recovery steps. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, this is a summary. So I hope this has been a good learning session. The summaries has been the benefit of Exchange 2013 DAG, Exchange 2013 DAG configuration step and lab, high availability with DAG, automated data centers. We also learned about auto reseed. At this point, I would like to thank you for joining and listening to me. I hope today's session would have been some learning for you, and you will be interested in trying the third data center and auto receipt feature in your lab. Please feel free to give me a feedback on my email ID. You can also subscribe to MS Exchange Guru or comment on any blog. We are good in answering. Actually, actually, MS Exchange Guru is not just me, but we have few people who write their blogs there. We are available everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. And just wanted to share a couple of blogs of mine, which might help you if you get stuck somewhere. So, with this final slide, I will hand over to Kimberly. Kimberly.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the controls back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that presentation. It was awesome. I sent you some questions, Prabhat, from some of our attendees, so if you want to go ahead and take a look at those while I go over the courses, then we can get to them as soon as I'm done. Netcom does offer a lot of Microsoft Exchange courses. Coming up, we've got Exchange Server 2010 Configuration. It's a 5-day, 40-hour course, begins on November 18th. You can take that in New York and Arlington in the classroom, and then again live online. We also have a Messaging Exchange Server training package. It's a 10-day, 80-hour course, also beginning on November 18th. New York and Arlington are the in-classroom locations, and live online is available. I also wanted to remind everybody that if you are going for any Microsoft certifications, Microsoft has brought back the second shot exam voucher, and it expires on May 31st, 2014. And that's all I've got for the rest of the housekeeping. Prabhat, if you want to go ahead and answer some of those questions.
Yes, I'm trying to find where it is. Could you just resend it to me?
Sure. You can see them in your control panel in the question pane. If not, I'll just read them out to you.
Just a second. I'm just searching. Maybe I hide it. All right, it has gone beyond my screen.
Okay, the first question is, there are 16 copies of database per DAG. Is there any number or any limit of number of DAGs?
Okay, this is a very nice question, Sopan. There is no limit of number of DAGs. You can just go beyond, just go up to 16 copies, up to 16 copies. But you can go multiple DAGs, but one server can be part of one DAG.
Okay. The next question is, what is the patching procedure of DAG? Do they have multiple sites?
Patching procedure of DAG is very simple. You have multiple sites, so best is to patch the DR site, which is passive, or the passive servers. Move the cluster to active. Move the cluster to different server. Patch the server. Once the server is restarted, do the test, run some tests. If you find everything is working on that particular server, move the PAM role to the server. Move all the databases. I'm sorry, there's something disturbing me. I'm sorry about that, folks. Yeah, so I was talking about moving the patching the servers. It's very easy. You have to just move the cluster to different active node and activate all the databases on that particular node. Patch the server, restart it, check everything's working fine, then move the resources back, move the databases back, and we are good. Next question, I will take it from here.
Okay, great.
One more confusion was the difference. One more confusion. What is the difference between FSW and quorum? So FSW is when you have even number of nodes, which adds a value, which adds a counting of exchange. It's like if we have a 5-node cluster, oh sorry, 4-node cluster, then it adds FSW adds a 5 number to make it count in a high number to tell you which has a majority, which node has a majority to get mounted, you know. So in quorum, basically the quorum will be created when you have odd number of nodes. So in odd numbers you can easily find a majority, but if you have even number, it's tough to find a majority, that which node has a majority. 2 plus if two node has gone down, 2 are still up. So and both are saying I should be the active manager. So to get that query resolved, we have FSW and quorum. One is for even, one is for odd number of nodes. How many servers I can add to DAG? One DAG will support 16 servers, like I said, 16 database copies. So I mean, you can go beyond numbers, but you can only add the database copies. You can go for more than 16 servers, but it depends number of copies. We can configure DAG by shell in Exchange 2013 which same can be done in Exchange 2010. Yes, that's correct. We can configure the same way in 2010 and 2013. We have provision 6. Next question. We have provision 6 servers, each with the mailbox and cache role. Do we need to remove mailbox role only, or exchange completely from 6th server to implement DAG? You don't need to remove any role. Basically, this is the great feature that you can implement DAG anytime you are ready to configure DAG. So you don't need to remove any feature, any feature from or any server from to configure DAG. You can have more than 6 servers, 12 servers, 20 servers, but not more than 16 copies of databases. The differences has been identified here is that one difference between the next question was what are the difference between Exchange 2010 and 2013? One of the biggest difference is the network change, which allows you to go beyond 2 data centers. In a way, the 3rd data center will have the file share witness. There are few different and new features have been added, like the auto reseed feature. The DAG network is more intelligent now. It can identify if it should be single network or it should be different networks. More intelligent, more auto reseed features. All right. So what is the purpose of secondary IP address in DAG? So you have a secondary IP option when you go beyond the data center, one data center. So if one data center goes down and it goes to second data center, right? So second data center should have an IP to be a cluster IP, right? So what it works is a cluster. Cluster should have an IP and a host name, right? So DAG name is a cluster host name and DAG IP is a cluster IP. So if you go beyond one data center, which means you have a different subnet there. So once you have different subnet, you will need a second IP. When we restart the Microsoft Information Store service, every time we create new database will not impact other live databases which are in production. Very nice question, Raji. I just explained during that when I was restarting. If you missed, it's like when you are going to restart Information Store, make sure you move all your active databases. Make sure you move PAM to the different server. All right. Then only create a new database in a DAG environment, and then you can restart the server. Next question is, how does Windows Server Dynamic Quorum assist DAG? The dynamic quorum assist DAG is just like a 3-node DAG I'm talking about. That is a dynamic quorum which will give a majority to know that this server is the server which is the cluster hosting server, which has the PAM, and it has to activate the database on this particular server. The next question: what is the database size limit in 2010 and 2013? Oh, it can be up to 2 terabytes, not beyond 2 terabytes. All right. what is the public folder on DAG as public folder has now become mailbox. Yes, if the public folder is just a mailbox, there's no difference in configuration for the DAG. All right. So public folder is just like a mailbox, and whenever you will replicate it, when you will replicate the database, public folder will also replicate to the database copy. So there's no difference with public folders in DAG. All right, so I think this is pretty much all the questions. I hope I answered all your questions, and thank you for joining and asking all the questions. Great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhat, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you at a next NetCom webinar.